Greetings and happy holidays to all at Rutgers Nation. Hope you all enjoyed a tremendous holiday season, Christmas and Hanukkah. Well, Thursday is a big day, and that means it's Rutgers versus Kansas State in the Guaranteed Raye Biwl X of the Texas Bowl back in 2005 when we defeated Kansas State 37-10. And Mike Teal threw for, I think, 268 yards and had 2 touchdowns. And Ray Rice had 170 yards and a touchdown in a big win and a season. We wound up 11-2 and probably should have went to the Orange Bowl if not for a drop pass in the end zone against West Virginia. Nonetheless, we opened as 9-point underdogs. Then it went down to 6.5. It's somewhere in 6.5. and 7-point range right now. Cheers, by the way. By the way, I hope you all put some Eric LeGrand bourbon in people's stockings or Secret Santas. Nonetheless, we're going into this game as underdogs. Despite Kansas State losing 3 out of the past 4, and we've won 3 out of the past 4. And 2 of those wins on the road against Maryland and Michigan State. I have to say that Maryland win, that kind of struck home with me. That was one I just felt that was a big win because we just haven't played well against Maryland in recent years. And that one felt pretty good. Nonetheless, 30,000-foot view, some things we're going to have to do. We're going to need to limit we're getting back to this again about limiting athletic quarterbacks who can make plays running and throwing, which has been a weak point in the past. But we've gotten a little better at that. Especially, Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech didn't have all that great a game against us. Nonetheless, we need to limit Avery Johnson. He's their best player, 6'2", 192. Coach Shiano in the press conference said he reminds him of Pat White, who was a really athletic passer before that model of quarterback was a thing. And he can run it and throw it. Johnson had 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 548 yards rushing, and 6 TDs. Completion percentage kind of in that Ethan Kaliakmanis range, 59%. Nonetheless, they will be missing their number 1 running back in DJ Giddens, declaring for the NFL. And that is a big deal for them, but we'll get to how that's kind of nullified in a second. Kansas State was number 5 in yards per carry in the NCAA at 5.6, and 19th in rushing yards per game, over 197 yards per game. Giddens had 1,343 yards. Average 6.6 per carry. That's pretty gaudy, although there's a caveat to that. 7 TDs. His backup is Dylan Edwards, who he also averaged over 6 yards per game, 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He transferred in from Colorado. Around the Kansas State program, they're happy about his potential as the heir apparent to fill the role left behind by Giddens. And so there's a couple things with that kind of worries me when we've had issues even with backup or second running backs in the rotational depth doing some damage against us. So that kind of worries me a little because I'm not sure that we'll be able to control the game on offense like we did in the past. Kyle's apparently making the trip to the Raye Bowl, but he's not going to he's not going to be playing. I'm actually kind of surprised by that, and I'm really disappointed because I figured Kyle to be one of those stalwart kind of guys that he's going to play. It's his last game. He's going to put himself out there. But as we've seen today with NIL, these are business decisions. These are no longer amateur athletes. They're no longer college athletes. They're not young guys anymore. They're paid professional athletes. They're college students who are getting free tuition, free books, free everything, free travel, free marketing, free life coaching, football coaching, personal coaching, academic coaching at taxpayer expense, and making business decisions to enhance their financial future. So I'm not going to be throwing bouquets right now. Kyle was an overwhelming positive for the Rutgers programs, but when it came down to it, he is making a business decision. Good luck to him in the future. So both teams losing impact in the running game, and as coach said, these teams are kind of similar. They're almost kind of mirror images of each other, although I think Kansas State probably a little more proficient and a little better on defense and a little more dynamic at the quarterback position, although not by much. Can never sell eighth and short. There were some things. So Kansas State, Avery Johnson, their running game, pretty dynamic. Their defense against the run, also pretty good. Here's the thing about the Big 12, though. We know what they want to do. They want to spread them out. They want to throw it all over the place. Running game is just an adjunct to the passing game. So if you're prolific in the passing game and you're running off the passing game and you stop a running game in the Big 12, which is not a huge deal to begin with, I think those numbers can be kind of skewed. Nonetheless, we're going to need to limit and manage Avery Johnson. We can't let the backup Dylan Edwards gash us. And the other thing about Kansas State down the stretch, losing 3 out of 4, they had 7 turnovers in 3 games in their 3 losses. And and this is where Coach Yano and staff has done a really good job. We're second in the nation and not turning the ball over behind Vanderbilt. That's a little bit of a surprise. So if we don't turn the ball over and we can get a couple turnovers, that's going to be a plus in our side. Kirk Shiraka and Nathan have, I hope Coach Shiano does very well when he has extras. As we know, and we got a win against Miami last year in the Pinstripe Bowl. Yes, Miami was missing guys, but, we had a lot of guys out from injuries, yada, yada, yada. That's the way it goes. Coach is 6-2 in bowl games. So I have faith in his ability to have the team ready to play. And Kirk Shiraka and Ethan, if they have a good game plan going into this game, and they've been really good the second half of the season down the stretch in the passing game, they deserve their props. I think we have an opportunity to do pretty well against Kansas State. I look at it like the USC defense, which is not great against the pass. USC still wound up winning. Nonetheless, that's another key to the game, is Ethan in the passing game continuing to be effective, efficient, and proficient. And Antoine Raymond filling in, he's going to have to be the guy now. He's going to have to be the guy that steps in there. And we know right away that this is the guy that's taken over for Kyle. And, when you look at Kansas State's backup, Dylan Edwards, we can't let him be the guy. We can't let him, at least for this game, can't let him be the guy that is the heir apparent and takes over for Giddens, for DJ Giddens. But Antoine, on the other hand, I think he can be productive. We're going to need some plays from Jay Sean as well, a little change of pace. And if we could do some of those things, don't turn it over. Limit Avery Johnson. Don't let Dylan Edwards gash you. Ethan Kirkschrock in the passing game. Going to have to be productive. And Antoine Raymond taking the next step to being the guy. Those will all bode well for us to be successful in the Raye Bowl. Now, Kansas State is number 29 in defense, allowing 3.7 yards per carry. Again, with the caveat, the Big 12, not exactly, the Big 10 when it comes to wanting to rush the ball. They give up 122 yards per game, which is number 27. Again, that's pretty good. Kyle with his 1,279 yards, 5 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. How much will that, not having him, play into Kansas State's ability to be able to stop the run? I'm not really sure. The Big Ten's a little more physical, actually a lot more physical than the Big 12. If you look at Lincoln Riley, he went to USC. They run that Big 12 wide open kind of offense. And they're essentially just a mediocre team in the Big Ten. So who knows how these statistics translate against the Big Ten team? We will soon find out. Nonetheless, we've on our side of the ball on defense, we've held 3 out of the past 4 opponents under 20 points. So, that's a pretty good job by Joe Harris-Simiak, who will not be there, and that begs this question: what would the defense look without Joe Harris-Simiak? We haven't won. It's a big game kind of for us when it comes to lifting the program to the next level. We haven't won back-to-back bowl games since 2006 to 2009 when we won 4 bowl games in a row. So what's the defense going to look like? Is Coach Schiano taking over the defense? I know he kind of talked about how they're all kind of pitching in, but we tend to struggle with athletic teams that have a lot of team speed and can make plays. So, Tyreme is playing, so that's a good thing for us. Jabome, he might be a guy that'll be an important guy. He wound up, got off to a good start that midseason. During a losing streak, he wasn't as effective, but he wound up number 5 in the Big Ten in tackles. He had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He's going to be important. Tyreem's going to be important. And our ability to prevent big runs will be important, because when Kansas State runs for 155 yards or more, they're 7-1. So that might be a barometer for us. Keeping Kansas State, managing their rushing game. If they get 100, 120, 130 yards, we stand a pretty good chance. If they're ripping off chunks of yards and they're getting 150 yards plus, it's not going to bode as well for us. And, if we could play well fundamentally, which Coach Schiano teams will do, with enough time to prepare, not turning the ball over, managing the rushing game, and not letting the quarterback position make too many big plays against you, we stand a pretty good chance as 6.5-point underdogs. As we talked about, Ethan will have to produce. He'll need to be productive. Kansas State's pass defense is susceptible. They're not great. I want to say they give up 227, 230, something like that yards per game. They're just at best average. So that's where we'll have to make some gains. We've talked about Ethan, particularly early on with his completion percentage, and I'm not going to go through it again, yada, 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 last year about how, Minnesota had changed the coaches, coaching turnover, player turnover, drop passes, highest drop pass rate in the nation, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to go through that. But when he passes 61%, Rutgers is 4-0. And remember at the beginning of the season, I said eighth in passes at 60%. We're already a much better team than last year. Even at 58%, we're 6-1. So Ethan can't have a bad game. And it's not just on Ethan. First part of the year, we had quite a few drop passes. We had some the second half of the year, but not quite as much as we did in the first part of the year. So if we're going to have success in the passing game, and Ethan is going to pass for 60% plus, we're going to be successful. And that means receiving core, no dropped passes. You're going to be in sunny Arizona. Temperatures are going to be single digits and 20s like they are back here in New Jersey. Let's make some plays. Let's get us to 8-5. I'm loath to even think about if we lose this game and we go 7-6 in a year that many prognosticators and a lot of fans and a lot of people thought we would be much better this year. We were looking at minimum 8-4, 9-4, 10-3 kind of season. 7-6 would be really disappointing. Yes, we've had a lot of injuries. So has many other teams in the Big Ten. So I'm putting my faith as 6.5-point underdogs that Coach Shiano will have our team prepared, despite Kyle likely not playing. And we'll be able to make enough plays against Kansas State, who at times will probably look like a dynamic Big 12 offense. And other times, hopefully, we get some stops. I think we can win this game 27-24, 28-24, somewhere in that range. But if we can do some of the things that we talked about, not turning the ball over, getting some turnovers, managing Avery Johnson, Antoine Raymond, going to have to have a Kyle kind of game. And the passing game being efficient, and yes, continue not to make mistakes, we have a really good chance. Let's hope that we come away with a win and make some progress on paper and become an 8-5 team. So next year we take even the next step to an even better team than that. Everybody enjoy the holiday week and the new year coming up. We'll talk to you soon and hope you enjoyed a spectacular holiday season.